Now for global business updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Abasi. Good morning, Vimbai. Good morning, Rufai. All our viewers out there. Of course, where else do we start? But condolences to the family of former President Muhammadu Buhari. As you know, great cover there from This Day newspaper. For us, I guess in the business section, it's to, review his policies, and if you look at economic growth during his time, recession. So he had he averaged 1.5% GDP growth. Now, of course, in 2015, Jonathan handed over to him. In 2023, he handed over to President Tinubu. So if you X out those years, he actually averaged about 1.1. Because he had, of course, a recession in 2016 and 2020. On the good side, if you look at the policies that at least he, tried to put forward, he signed the Petroleum Industry Act, prioritized, rail infrastructure, Warri, Itakpe, and all those other places. Pursued the Siemens deal. Didn't really get us where we were trying to go, but at least he kicked it off. We should have added it. I think PEBEC was put forward under his tenure, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. The Anchors Borrowers program had good intentions, trying to get liquidity over to farmers, even though there were issues with defaults here and there. And then you get to the troublesome side, right? The bad, unfortunately, and unfortunately that kind of outweighs the good. So the recessions maybe weren't really his fault, because in '84 oil prices tanked. It was the same thing in 2015. 2020 was COVID. But the fuel subsidies, according to NATI, the extractive industries body, he spent about 12.4 trillion on fuel subsidies between 2015 and 2022. Obasanjo, Yaradua, and Jonathan combined between 1999 and 2014 spent 8.6 trillion. So he outspent all of them. There was, of course, the fixed exchange rates, which caused FX scarcity. People couldn't get access. The rate wasn't realistic. Banks stopped honoring transactions on debit cards. There was the botched currency swap. We all remember how that's impacted people. In fact, in 2015, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria said that 227 businesses closed. About 222 were SMEs, another 50 or so were, if you add 270 or so, 50 of them were manufacturing companies. About 4.5 million jobs were lost. You got the Ways and Means, which as of March of 2023, right before President Tinubu took over, that was at 27.5 trillion. Debt service to revenue ratio peaked at 111%, because he was borrowing so much to maintain the electricity subsidies, fuel subsidies, foreign exchange subsidies, and so on. Then don't forget when he closed the borders, trying to boost manufacturing of food in Nigeria, and that just spiked inflation. He banned Twitter when, he didn't like what they said, when he took down a tweet of his. That was under Jack Dorsey's tenure before Elon Musk took over for 7 months, which impacted e-commerce businesses and folks that were trying to, sell. So, look, the numbers just speak for themselves. It is what it is, and it's at this point we're still trying to recover from some of that. Going to it is what it is. I guess moving to the latest tariff tango over the weekend. Mexico and the EU were added again, effective August the 1st. So 50% for Brazil, 35% Canada, 30% Mexico. EU said that they are putting together countermeasures, but they're still talking. Bitcoin hit a new high on Friday was 118,000. It's now 122,000. And this is as a result of a lot of inflows going into Bitcoin ETFs, which are exchange traded funds. So if you don't want direct exposure to Bitcoin, you can buy into an ETF, and that also hit a high on Thursday. This is daily. There was 1.1 billion that flowed into these Bitcoin ETFs, and so Bitcoin just continues to climb. It was also helped by the policy direction of Trump, who is supportive of the currency. Some news from Asia. China released their trade numbers this morning, the customs office. It still looks like there's some front loading going on, and also some exports diverted through Vietnam, because you see Asian. Okay, we'll get to the key markets, but exports, China's trade numbers are gargantuan. I mean, their export numbers are bigger than some economies, right? In emerging markets, 325 billion, 5% growth. Imports was 210. Their trade surplus is 114. As you subtract, May surplus was 103. So it's actually gone up. Key markets, exports to the U.S. continue to drop. They dropped about 16% in June. The Asian region was 58 billion, climbed 17%. Couldn't get the EU numbers, but EU apparently climbed by 7.9%. And rare earth, their rare earth exports was 32% year on year, 60% month on month. So the Asian market, I think the Chinese ones reacting to that. But that's pretty much our updates for today. I mean, we've got earnings. A lot of earnings are coming out. I think second quarter. So JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Netflix. We'll be getting a lot of earnings this week as well. So we'll be diving into them too.
Let me give you how you should have tagged the Trump tariff tango. Just call it Taco Tango.
Taco Tango.
Taco Tango. Yeah. So a lot of Taco Tango is going on. And but you know what the Taco Tango is doing for America? It's stifling productivity and growth.
That's correct.
So a lot of people in Trump's MAGA base are now saying, where's the economic growth? A lot of the Gen Z MAGAs met over the weekend, and they were asking about economic growth. The forecast is not good for America, and that's what this distortion caused. The markets have been able to ride through it by knowing that, that this guy is, he will change his mind at some point. He'll back off, Taco Tango. But the truth is, it's not good for all these nations. I am not putting America in a better stead. That's just it. And Trump should be made to understand, you don't have to always take the limelight. Imagine what he did yesterday, trying to take the shine off my team, Chelsea. I can't forgive him for what he did. You gave them the trophy, leave them, let them say, but you still stayed there, you were jumping, you want to take the shine off Chelsea? Are you kidding me?
Well done to Chelsea. That was
Are you
fantastic.
kidding me?
Congrats
the miracle God has done for us that we never even believed in. So, but moving off, as regards Buhari tanked the economy. Rotus, let's not deceive ourselves. He put us in a lot of quagmire where we are. He put us in so much quagmire that the succeeding APC government blames it rightfully for all that happened. Look at the Anchor Borrower scheme. Yeah, good intention. After rice pyramid, what next?
Yeah.
That was when we had the concept of political farmers. Look at the needless recessions. Those, you see, you didn't state what caused those recessions.
Well, it was oil prices and COVID.
It was not oil prices, Rotus.
Partly.
The first slump of recession, I think that was around 2016. 2016-ish. Was because he came in 2015 for 6 months. He didn't even have minister. He had no directions.
That's true.
That was what caused the recession. It was a do-it-yourself recession. So there was no way to be able to plan and buffer economically. He didn't have ministers. He didn't have anything. The crude oil price too now came on top of it. Yeah. That was when we get a facility to now defend our currency. You remember, he first started with a float that he couldn't back up.
Right.
Those were bad economic policies. Then when that float started hurting us, that the Naira was going to close to 500, he then now looked for money, defended back to about 306, found a level. At some point, they now allowed to free float again up to 360. They now started hedging at that point. So a lot of Taco Buhari, changing his mind back and forth, but we give him his tributes, his past today. I just hope leaders that are coming at the back also learn from all of this. Yeah. He inherited a healthy economy from Jonathan, and he tanked it.
He did.
Took the economy, Olule. Sad.
I think it's tough with economics to sometimes make a convergence between good intentions and the consequences of those intentions. Because, when I think about his economic legacy, I'm speaking about the late former president, Muhammadu Buhari, I always think about Buy Nigeria. And I think Buy Nigeria because it echoes what so many countries around the world have attempted to do, some successfully, some not as much. So if you think of, for example, Proudly South African, that works incredibly well, which is how the South African government has created an agency to ensure that people prioritize buying South African goods above other goods. And that's a very successful campaign. But when you see it in other countries, there's varying levels of success. Now, with Buy Nigerian and with closing the borders and just trying to get some sort of resurgence with production in the Nigerian economy, again, on paper, all all brilliant concepts on paper, but when you translate to the realities of what happens in Nigeria, it's question mark, question mark. And so I bring this up to say that I wish that I'm looking forward to a time where homegrown African or global South economists' voices can dominate. Because to date, the prescriptions that we take are largely created by people who are studying in Boston or Harvard or, wherever you name it. And they don't really relate to some of the realities that we have on the ground. There's a disconnect, which is why even you see with the current administration, intention, always good, but the consequences and how it translates always sort of translates in varying degrees and with varying outcomes. So I think in this case, when you look at Africa, your South Africa is an outlier. Rwanda, for example, is an outlier. They're outliers. But generally, when African countries try to support and create systems that encourage local production for local consumption, the result is always varied, and I think it's because there are aspects that we're not getting right.
Okay, the Bitcoin rally, $120,000. The projection is that it's even going to go up to about $125,000 by next month. And the calculation is that institutional investors are the ones behind this. The clear indication is that they don't seem to be fast anyway by Trump's tariffs issues. They believe that whatever happens, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, will continue to do well in the market. Now, as for the tariffs on EU and Mexico, on Monday, President Trump, Monday last week that is, wrote a batch of letters increasing tariffs. On Wednesday, he wrote another batch of letters. Then on Saturday, when in Europe, he knew that people will not be working, they will be at home, and that Americans too will be at home, he dispatched letters to EU and Mexico, 30% tariffs. However, the EU had reacted to say that they will not do reciprocal tariffs. So is this, forcing people to negotiate themselves with them by force? And still on the cryptocurrency, the House of Reps today will start considering a number of bills with regard to cryptocurrency to redefine, to concretize the legal framework in the United States for it. Indeed. Now, you talked about the earnings. It will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and also on Thursday. And almost all the companies are there. But the big question there is not just about the earnings by JP Morgan, Chase Morgan, or
Bank of America, Netflix.
All those, everybody is there. ABB, all of them, they are on that list. The question is, what will be their outlook for the rest of the year? The emphasis is on the outlook, not necessarily the earnings. Indeed. And finally, G20 meeting is taking place this week, but the US will not be there. Scott Bessent is going all the way to Japan for further negotiations. But the question again on that topic is, would President Trump attend the G20 summit that will take place later in the year in November. November 22. November 22.
Some folks are bullish that he will attend. We're going to see whether.
A lot of things have changed since then. A lot of all things being equal, that's what happened.
We were chatting, she and I were chatting on WhatsApp.
No, at the time.
I tell your intel says go to October.
So you won't change your hair color?
The ministers and the central bank governors, they are meeting this week in Durban. The other meeting is in Gauteng, both in South Africa. And we'll see what happens in terms of the diplomacy between US and South Africa. And that's why the question is asked whether Trump will attend that meeting in November. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a developing story.
So Ramaphosa went in vain.